Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
All right, it's 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. Thanks for being here. This is the show we hear from musicians and artists about what they think about what they do. Normal work they've done in between being in bands and playing music. The work of the music itself. This is where we get their stories from it. And on today's episode, we hear from Sextile. Brady and Melissa we have here. They've both had challenging and celebratory moments playing music. We talk all about that here. They've got this new album coming out tomorrow, actually, called Yes Please. And I love it. It's very physical. It puts a smile on my face, and it has that specific type of feeling to it when you're out and you kind of decide not to go home for your normal bedtime. It's great. Puts a big smile on my face. Yes Please is Sextile's new album out tomorrow. If you're in the UK, you can catch them live next month in May 23rd at Wide Awake Festival with English Teacher and Kneecap as well. We've had them both on the show. After that, it's Dot to Dot, Glasgow at Stereo, Manchester at the White Hotel, London at Rough Trade East, Brighton at Dust, Birmingham Hare and Hounds, Good Pub, and then the great Where Else Community Hub in Margate. So that's Sextile, new album out tomorrow. Yes, please. Go and buy it from your local record store. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. If you're able to leave 5 stars on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening to this, and if you can subscribe, that would help us massively. We're an independent show. We want to keep doing this. Thanks for being along with it. After the jump, it's Brady and Melissa from Sextile.
101 Part-Time Jobs.
Son Estrella Galicia's Dot to Dot warm-up show will be headlined by Big Special on the 5th of May at Oslo and Hackney. Big Special, if you don't know them, are excellent. You might have heard them on the new Black Mirror or seen photos from their massive sold-out show at Kentish Town Forum recently. Son Estrella Galicia are the independent, family-owned, music-loving brewery with a particular interest in sustainability and community. And in their warm-up for their partnership with Dot to Dot Festival, where you can catch Fat Dog, Jasmine 40, Sprints, and loads of other great bands. This is a one-off chance to see Big Special at the intimate and independent Oslo venue in Hackney. 5th of May, Big Special, warming up Dot to Dot Festival in partnership with Son Estrella Galicia. Get your tickets before they're gone from Dice. There's no real divide between, like, quote-unquote, like, regular life and making music. Like, this is my philosophy. I mean, tell me what your experience of it is. That, like, you can't just put them in drawers like that. You can't just compartmentalize them there. It's all in the mash. And I think the biggest, and I guess this is some kind of question, how do you even start to get your ducks in a row there? How do you start to, like, organize a life that you make stuff, you promote it, and your personal life is, like, sustainable in some kind of sense? Because it all seems just such a chaos.
It is absolute chaos. I rely on whiteboards and Google Sheets. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I
Very
have to.
smart with whiteboards. That's good. I think
Yeah,
I can see one
there's
in your
one. Yeah, there's
mirror.
one right here. Yes, you can. You can. I'm not joking.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. So I have a whiteboard up. Like that's like just to get my shit organized because it like you said, it's absolute chaos. There's a million things to do. We don't have a manager, so we do everything. We do all of our expense reports, all of our
Yeah.
budgets.
Was that a choice to not have a manager?
I think yes at first because it's like, it's 15% off the
Yeah.
top of everything.
Yeah.
And, we're a pretty experimental band, especially in our first two records, and we weren't making a lot of money, so we had to. And as we kept doing it, we realized that we actually kind of know a lot about managing ourselves now. And what we're doing is actually been pretty effective. Now, this record has also, it's just like every record comes with a new bunch of learning lessons, if you will. So this one has been just like, oh, maybe we could have used a manager to help us out with the amount of things that we've had going on with this. But,
'Cause it
to
gets
balance
busy, right?
yeah, it gets so busy. And there's so many email threads and just like, you just lose track of all the things going on. I mean, I'm like sharing Google Calendars with all of our team now, just like trying to use these tools that are available to us just to make it easier. But, like I have to have routines. Like for me, I get up and I try to make music every morning. I try to work on something, maybe learn something about like a plugin or a new instrument that I got or something like that. And I try an hour, 2 hours. Like before this podcast, I already got my time in.
Yeah. Oh, Melissa's just coming in. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, it's all good.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, got you. We were just talking about how, like, to like write every day and like make it your job. I mean, like Nick Cave does that thing where he puts a suit on every morning to go to work, and like I guess you can do that without putting a suit on. You can get into that mind frame of being like, yeah, this is what I do. I'm going to try and get some work done today in between all the other emails, admin, bits and bobs. You've been able to do that, have you?
I mean, it's funny you bring up Nick Cave because, well, this is like a side thing, but him wearing a suit, particularly because my friend who was also in Tokyo at the same time we were, flew home to New York and was stuck in a customs line and sent me a picture of Nick Cave in a full suit. And we were talking about how crazy it is that Nick Cave even has to wait in customs. But the fact that he's in a suit after traveling from who knows where, how many hours. But I guess we put on a suit every day to do this job in a sense. But there's definitely no 9 to 5 about it. It's like an all day situation.
Yeah. And the sonics of your music is a specific place. I mean, a lot of people, I think of it, in that music, I think of 3 a.m., somewhere dark, not somewhere that's 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, or 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, 10 a.m. here, definitely. Where are you, Gils? Are you in London?
London, yeah. And it's like 6 o'clock here now. So we're on the different times of the day. I'm in the future.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, it's funny that we make so much nighttime music. I think I particularly love to dance, and so that's a part of it.
We probably spend a lot of our time out at night, like throughout our lives. I think that's kind of what it is we were always, I don't know, I worked in kitchens and waited tables really before I got into music. And so, as soon as you got out for work, you were out all night, and sometimes you wouldn't get out of work till like 11, 12. So you kind of just become like night people from working.
Know that feeling from working in service because you're like, I've just finished work. I'm not just going to go home.
No. And all your coworkers like having drinks at the restaurant before you go out because you get them for cheap because you work there, and then you go out.
And there's so much drinking culture. I mean, I think this is pretty it gets its claws into you, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I would just end up spending my entire paycheck on the bar at the place that I worked at. It was like a terrible loop.
How about you, Melissa? What were you doing? I mean, so many people who are like near the top of festival bills now are probably going to work on Monday or Tuesday doing something that's not music. I mean, what's your story been in terms of working alongside Sextile and, like, I don't know, surviving in that sense?
I mean, it's funny. I was a bartender for like 10 years, but I don't drink anymore. So working within Sextile now, I mean, when we have to play at 4 in the morning, I mean, I have to admit it kind of sucks. Like, I'm not super stoked on it. And I feel like even though I don't drink, I get a bit hungover
It's
from
tiredness,
just
isn't it?
like smoking cigarettes or whatever bullshit that I can't stop doing, which is usually just smoking cigarettes or smoking a vape or some nicotine situation. It's just from like the lack of sleep and stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, at this point, it being like when we talk like your name of your podcast, it's part-time jobs, right? So I
Yeah.
suppose the theme is about it being like work. But it's that whole thing of like finding something that you do that you like, so it doesn't feel like a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I shift back in between of talking about this feeling like work and then feeling also like really grateful to be able to do this.
Yeah, I imagine it's like a confusing idea because you start making music. I guess most people start making music to kind of counteract the stuff they have to do, whether that's work or school or whatever it is in their life. And then when the music takes over and that becomes the focus, I imagine that becomes like confusing territory.
Yeah, because then you start getting opened up to the ideas of what other people think about it, which is not what you thought when you made it. Like, who cares? You made it for yourself, so
Yeah.
it definitely gets confusing. And then like how to make this also have longevity because only so many bands um, get the opportunity. Like statistically, I don't think a lot of people make money off music to continue to do it. And because we live in capitalism, it's
Yeah.
impossible to continue to do something if you can't pay your rent. So
The music industry is built off people working for free or very little money.
100%.
Yeah, I think it can get confusing for people too when like you see a track that you worked on, maybe one or two did really well, and you want to keep monetizing off that sound, so you just keep trying to remake that sound and that track to try to get that thing again. It's almost like chasing the dragon, if you will, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of the pragmatic way of thinking. Oh, that worked. It should work again.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not like that, right?
Never.
No, we have a couple of songs that everyone loves that came out quite some time ago, and it took them a while to like hit. But they're the tracks that sort of get DJ'd a lot, particularly this song "Disco." It's like we wrote it 2018, so it's quite old, and I think people really want more of that from us. But that's not what we want to make anymore. So it's like we can't force that, and I think that it wouldn't even be authentic if we did force it and it'd just be like some shitty version of that song.
And that's a lot to think about. I mean, if we back up a little bit, I mean, the way you met and the way that you had that break after 2017 and came back in 2023 with Push, I don't think any artist has had just a straight line, a straight road. Sextile has especially, has it sounds like reading your story is quite difficult to read.
Mm.
Do you say it's difficult because it sounds traumatic, or are you saying it's difficult?
Yeah, but because you met in rehab, and of course that's going to be a difficult time of your life, even if there's like positive come out of it. That's the challenge. There must be a real challenge.
Well, me and Brady actually met pre-rehab. We met the others that we initially started this band in rehab.
But we might as well have met in trauma because we were both going through shit.
Yeah, and then we we were both suffering from our own addictions at the time when we met. And then we were, addicts together. So but it was short, not too long after, it was about 2 years after we first met that we decided to get clean, and we moved to LA, not intentionally together, but sort of separately to do rehab. And then, we met the other two in Narcotics Anonymous, but we already were, wanted to make music, wanted to put everything into music because it was always, I think music was ultimately always what me and Brady always wanted. It was always the thing that either of us were obsessed with. It was just like we couldn't get our shit together, you know. But then, unfortunately, both those people we started the band with both went back to drugs, which is the problem when you start a band with high risk personalities. One passed away, one ended up back in prison. Um, Well, you know, at the time we were such a different band. And to be honest with you, it's just like with any progression of any band, as you continue to work on it, you really figure out what it is that this band sounds like, looks like, and wants to be. And I feel like that version of Sextile is a completely different band.
Yeah.
And even when we're talking about that track Disco, that was a track that me and Brady made, just us two. And so that to me actually was the beginning of what would define the sound of what we are now, the sort of the sound, the attitude, and the appearance of Sextile, which, you know, it's always been aesthetically beyond the first record, because the first record I didn't do the artwork, and because of that, because wasn't into it, I taught myself Photoshop and then began to make all of our merch and all of our artwork and whatever. And Brady's done all of our mixing and the sound design to make us sound as hi-fi and heavy as we do.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great on radio. It's been going out on the BBC Six here.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
it sounds
Cool.
fucking awesome. You
Thank
know, and I
you.
imagine that's not an easy thing because there's so much compression on radio, right? That I imagine when you're producing a track that may or may not get played on the radio because you don't know at that point. Like, how do you mix it? How do you know how to mix it?
You just, I mean, I think like it's the mastering at that point. Like if you can mix it and it sounds good to you, period. If it sounds good to you on a good pair of speakers from at least 3 different sources, if it sounds good on your phone, your car, and your good speakers, you're good. But the key is to and you can get plugins to do this yourself. But if you get to us, the secret is -7.5 LUFS.
Yeah.
Loudness,
Yes.
LUFS, baby. And so if you can get it there, you'll sound good on the radio.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And that's like, you know, there's a lot to think about there. You're involved in the production. You're quite heavily involved in the production.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we really just do everything ourselves. And Brady, God, I mean, I'm really always saying this because I'm really grateful to be in a band with someone who cares as much as he does. Even though it drives me crazy sometimes because he always wants to buy new gear that I'm like, do we need this? But he spends all day researching gear. And then beyond that, just like,
I use it too.
well, when you get
I'm just playing.
That's what he's got the whiteboards for.
is what the whiteboard's for.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a whiteboard. It looks
Yeah.
crazy.
I know. You can see it in the mirror here.
101, 101, part-time jobs. 101, 101, 101, part-time jobs.
And Brady was saying that you're managing yourselves.
Yeah.
And so it kind of paints this picture of this band that like you stumbled, you got this sound a few years ago, like 2015, 2017, records came out, and the way the story reads is that there was like some uptake from it, there was some interest, and then you kind of went away for a bit and came back, and people were like, oh yeah, people understood it when you came back more than they initially did. Is that fair to say?
I would
Yes,
100%
for sure.
agree.
But honestly, what I think that had to do with was that Brady and I both started 2 other projects, 2 solo projects. He has a project called Panther Modern. I have another project called S Product. And both of those, for whatever reason, resonated with people during 2020 and 2019 when we were broken up. And I think it sort of created more of a myth around Sextile and like what that was. And so, yeah, I don't know. When we came back, it seemed like people cared more. When we broke up, I think the last show we ever played, I think we got paid like $500 and it wasn't even in LA. So the travel expenses, all this bullshit to do it. And then when we came back, it was quite a difference of what we were being offered to play. But I will say that I think also after pandemic, it seemed like a lot of bands had an opportunity to shoot up a little more and ask for more. There's been so many bands that I think prior to 2020, just like it didn't hit as well. Maybe the industry was set up to be differently. Maybe we valued live music more after the fact. I don't really know.
What did that feel like? Because I guess when you're making something, you're so attached to it. I imagine it's hard to think of it objectively, like maybe a manager would, because a manager would be like, yeah, this, we need that, this. But then when it's yourself, I imagine it's quite easy to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
I mean, so the manager thing's interesting. We had a manager super briefly. It didn't really have, I don't remember them having much of an opinion on our music or what we sounded like or what we needed to do. Me and Brady, I think we talk a lot about basically how to survive financially. So we're always kind of more concerned with the moves that we make, that what are the best investments for the band and what doesn't put us at risk. And honestly, as we go is more as we've been able to figure it out. I will say that there was a while there where we were like, oh, we need a manager. There's so many emails and things to handle and stuff that we're kind of late on. And it also doesn't, without having a manager, it doesn't give us full freedom to just be artists, to just make art. So there's so much other work that in this day and age that you have to do to be a musician, including like content creation and all this dumb shit no one ever signed up for on social media.
Yeah.
But after talking to a bunch of my friends that are in bands about the same size as us or even bigger and have managers, they're actually they're paying themselves less than us. And I think it's because they have to pay the managers. And I think often managers, from what I understand of even just hanging out with my friend recently, put sometimes the artist within debt within the label, borrowing too much money.
Yeah.
And we are never in that position. I think sometimes when you're a smaller band, managers of bigger levels don't know how to manage a smaller band. So the expenses, they don't understand it's not the same. You don't need all that.
Yeah. If you're going out for a nice 3-course meal and the manager's paying for it, you're paying for it.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't think they realize that. I also think that sometimes there's just like a little bit of lacking in DIY, like punk ethics with these managers because they come from industry shit. And Brady and I really don't. We really come from like just doing it yourself in the subculture of music. So we have a different understanding of truly doing it yourself. I mean, we don't even have to pay for someone to mix our shit because Brady's going to do it. We don't have to pay for someone to do our artwork because I'm going to do it. And it's just stuff like that has been probably really helpful to us in saving money.
Where does it come from? Where did both of you grow up? Were you going to punk shows? Were you going to club nights? Where do you think you first learnt that stuff?
Yeah, I started going to punk shows when I was 12.
Who were you seeing? Were you seeing like Leftover Crack and Ska Punk, Melissa?
I love that you bring that up. That's so funny. I have seen Leftover Crack when I was a teenager. What was the other band that the guy from Leftover Crack had? It was
Choking Victim.
Choking Victim. They remember they had this really great track that I liked when I was younger. But
Yeah, they had some tunes.
yeah, I mean, like in retrospect, those bands don't hit as hard to me. But it's funny you bring up ska punk because I'm sort of embarrassed to admit the first band that I went to go see. I won tickets when I was 12 on the college radio station WVUM, which is 90.5 in Miami, Florida. I wasn't born in Miami. I was born in New York, but I moved there when I was 9.
What's the
And-
band?
What?
What's
I'm
the
gonna
band?
say the band. But
The
I won the
anticipation.
tickets. The band is not. They don't hold up. They were called Less Than Jake.
They're big. They're big ones.
They were, and I remember the bass player coming up to me, and he's like, "'Cause this was a small little gay punk club called Cheers that doesn't exist in Miami anymore." And he came up to me, he's like, "Look at you, little badass smoking," because I was 12 and like trying to smoke cigarettes to like appear older. And I remember, I think now as an adult, I would be like, "Holy shit, what is that kid doing here smoking cigarettes in the corner?"
I was a ska punk kid. There was, I mean, we had the specials and like Madness.
Yeah, but that's different.
There is, so it is different.
Yeah.
It is
The
different.
specials. I'm talking about that third wave ska that did not hold up well. Real Big Fish, all that stuff. Mighty Mighty Bosstones, not good.
Yeah.
But I just want to say about this show because there was an opener and it was a band called Discount. And the
Yeah.
singer,
Discount were fucking sick.
yes, and that
The 3-piece.
it changed. Well, it was Alison Mosshart who's now in the Kills. She was the singer of that band, and she was only I think she was only like 16 at the time or something. I was 12, so she's probably only like 4 years older than me. I don't even know. And we have mutual friends, so other people have told her this story that I remember feeling super inspired seeing her perform up there because I didn't expect that. It was not what I don't know. I was already into like Hole and Babes in Toyland and L7 and stuff like that, but I guess I just didn't really think about me playing in a band. Like it still seemed out of reach until I saw that.
I got a DIY by just I had a band in college, my very first band I was playing drums in, and they all like decided to quit on me and focus on their majors. And I was like, what? This is ridiculous. This is terrible idea, guys. And it just devastated me. So I dedicated myself to learning Ableton for like 6 to 8 hours a day, each day until I got better at it. And because I was like, I was like, I can't trust anybody. If you want to get anything done, good, or you want to get anything done, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah. What was your first experience of after that then being like, oh, this is kind of worked? Like I'm doing something. What was your first? Well, it could have been like a gig or a release.
I think when we went to CMJ with another band that I was with, and we got invited to do, which was like the South by Southwest of New York back in the day, and that was quite the experience. And so I thought we were doing something new, and then I was living in Savannah, Georgia at the time. So when we got back to Savannah, Georgia, it felt like we were like hometown heroes or something like that.
Yeah.
Because everybody was like, wow, you guys were playing in New York and da 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 da. And
yeah. I'm interested between that period of time where you do something like that, which, wears off eventually, that feeling of like, oh, we've done something special, like something just, 2 weeks go by and it's like, oh, okay, life's back to normal. And like how people can continue through their 20s, because I mean it takes like years and years and years for someone to be an overnight success, right? And so what do those years look like? I mean, how does someone be able to just keep on like putting on the gas while sort of surviving? I think that's like a fascinating conversation. And what's it been for both of you, like being able to just keep it up through those period of your 20s where you had an I imagine you had enough opportunities to not play music, and it might have been a little bit easier.
I wish I played more music in my 20s.
Really?
Oh, me too. I mean, I moved to New York when I was 17, and the intention was that I wanted to meet more people within subculture, within music, because I had started DJing in Miami at nightclubs and Britpop nights by the time I was like 16, which actually really inspired me because I met so many special people that I'm still friends with now. But there was not opportunities to play music. So I moved to New York with those intentions. And New York was so vibrant at the time. This is the early 2000s. And I remember, I saw the first week that I moved to New York, I saw the AAS play Brownies, which was like a 150 cat venue.
Wow.
Fast forward to how many years later, and we're, I'm really good friends with Nick Zinner, and we've done a remix for the AAS, and but I thought that I would pursue music then, but I actually got introduced to heroin at within that same year, and I thought that I was like a raging badass and could do whatever I wanted to do, and that I wouldn't catch an addiction, but lo and behold, it got a hold of me, and I was still playing music. I first was playing with my friends, this band that was an early Sacred Bones band named Crystal Stilts.
Okay.
Yeah, they were a fantastic band, super underrated, sort of disappeared, but
I'll write that down. Crystal Stilts.
Crystal Stilts, yeah, they were great. But I could never get it together. I also started a band with my friend Cassie Ramone, who was in this band, the Vivian Girls at the time. This was
Vivian Girls are sick.
Yeah, and we actually have a bunch of demos and things that I still have these recordings of. I would be offered opportunities to be in different bands, and I would just mess it up. I toured for a while playing drums in this band called The Beats, which is an early Captured Tracks band. You might know Juan Waters. He was the singer of that band.
Yeah, he's doing stuff now. He's done stuff with like Mac DeMarco.
One of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
But because of my addiction, I just would constantly blow all these opportunities. While I played in the Beats, I got into a really bad accident that actually put me in a wheelchair. So then I was like living in a nursing home in Roosevelt Island in New York. And I wasn't a part of anything at that point. I was like sort of living in a deep, different area of the New York State, like hospital situation, which is usually where they, is where they put everybody that didn't have insurance or green cards or whatever, so sort of to be forgotten. There's actually a track on the end of our new record called Soggy Newports that I wrote as a country song that is it's on our new record, and I wrote it in the hospital during that time.
Do you remember how you were feeling back then? Did you feel like other people were doing stuff almost kind of just down the road, and like you felt left out, or was it? Were you not like aware? Yeah, it was that feeling.
It was heartbreaking. It was a really hard time. There's like a lyric in Soggy Newports where I say, when everyone here is put to sleep, the skyline turns on its lights. And I always felt like I remember seeing New York out the window and remember thinking, it's right there, but I'm not a part of it. Because Roosevelt Island is a 2-mile island in between Manhattan and Queens. And a lot of my friends were still touring and doing things, and the Beats had like replaced me, and I went on a European tour, and my friends would come visit me in the hospital, a lot of them, including Cassie, in which we made a lot of songs even in that hospital. But I wasn't, like, my best friend in that hospital was a paraplegic man who was like 65 years old and ran the cigarette game in there. It was more like living in a prison than living in like New York or subculture at the time. And I was 27 at that time. And I thought, I was too old even then to start over, which is ironic now.
Isn't that interesting that for this record, that track goes back to your period of time back then, which was probably 15 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote that song in 2011. So yeah, we're almost at 15 years with that. It's crazy. My intention was never to put this on the record. I was just, when we started writing all these songs for these records, we go through a lot of old demos and stuff, Brady and I, and see if there was like any ideas from the past. That was whether a cool bass line or cool lyrics or whatever. While we're continues to write new stuff. We always do that. And it's sort of to jump around and keep our brains interested in this and to give us many options. And I happened to go in my email and just see so I've had the same email for like 20 years, and I just like happened to see any attachment files that were like MP3s, because at the time I used to record on like the oldest shitty MacBook that my friend gave me on GarageBand, and I would use the internal mic of the computer, the built-in shitty microphone. And anyway, this song came up, and it's me playing guitar, singing, and I played it for Brady, and he's like, let's use this. And I was like, really? And so we re-recorded it, but with synths as opposed to just like an acoustic guitar. And I'm honestly nervous about how vulnerable it is. And then I'm quite a sensitive person. And I just, like, the internet allows people to be such haters in a cowardly way through a screen these days. So I'm like, I know it's going to come. It is what it is. People do that, especially as you become more successful, people become more haters. It's just I don't know, human condition thing.
Well, I love the album. I love that it's powerful and it's heavy and it's like in your face, but there's tenderness to it. There's a lot of melody. I feel like I can listen to that if I'm like ready to go out and go wild. And I feel like I'm ready to listen to it if I'm just at home hanging out with the cat and like maybe even feeling sorry for myself. You know what I mean? Like two ends of the spectrum.
It's definitely the most melodic record we've put out so far, and I think we're probably going to keep touching on melody. It's something that we, at the first, we kind of like stayed away from. We were more into like the dissonance and sound design aspects of making music and just kind of like using sounds to create rhythms. But yeah, I think we always appreciate a good lick, so.
Do you ever, maybe there's something that you've already talked about this, maybe you've already done something, but it made me think of bands like Health, who have got quite big in like the gaming world. Are you in the gaming world?
No, I mean, like,
I think they're gamers though.
Yeah, we don't play very many video games, if not at all. I maybe play like once or twice a year. I looked at my Steam account the other day, and it's like I haven't logged in since like 2024 or something like that. But I
but
feel
for
like
syncing and stuff like that, like those companies love
100%.
this kind of music.
Yeah, I've seen actually people on our YouTube comment that they want to hear it in that Cyberpunk game, and like on like the radio that they have in the game. And
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I'm
don't
all
know the
about
game, but
that.
like it sounds like music that you would hear in a game.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I think like for me that's really cool because I learned about a lot of bands playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater when I was
Well,
a
we are
kid.
in Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the first mobile game, but our
Hell
our
yeah.
um our old the 3 EP, which has disco and paradox and all these other tracks on it, that Tony Hawk had heard that and put that in his game, which is pretty awesome.
Fuck yeah. It's mad with the internet because people will hear your band, people that you know of will hear your band, but also obviously loads of strangers. And there's no one place where people find out about it. I mean, TikTok is just like, it's like something from Harry Potter. There's something that's like screams at you. It's like magic. And it's like, and like, I don't even know how I found out about half the stuff I listen to unless a friend recommends it. And
Yeah.
so there's such like things used to be so tribal when we were growing up, right? It was like MTV2 or Tony Hawk's, or you're into rap and 50 Cent, and like everything was quite separated. Things now are like it's all mashed up, which makes it harder to find things, but also must make loads of different opportunities for people to hear stuff they might not have already just been exposed to.
I also think there's more music than ever because we have such an ability. Anyone can make music now. And so many different ways to do it. I mean, I used to also work at record stores in New York, and that was how I learned about much music. Like, it was MTV was a huge part of just like writing shit down. But I even used to watch. I don't know if you remember these commercials for like, I don't know if they have this in the UK, but I assume it's very similar. It would be these like you would order these compilations of like 60s hits, and then they would play some of the 60s songs and like screen the songs down the screen. And I remember writing down even that, like figuring out who the Birds were because of that.
Yeah.
So I was always trying to catch it from wherever I could. I used to walk into record stores and buy records when I was a teenager based on the way the record looked. That's how I found the Cramps, My Bloody Valentine.
How do you do it today?
I mean, I definitely feel like social media plays a role with sometimes introducing it to me. Like my friends that I respect, that I follow online, that follow the bands, sometimes they post bands. This is why I think playing live is huge introduction, because sometimes you see a live footage of a band, even if it's a 15-second clip, and you're like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
It looks cool. But I unfortunately, because even though I still have my record collection, I listen to records. It's not the same. Like when I listen to Spotify, there's nothing really new being introduced to me. I Shazam a lot of stuff. That's a huge thing. So it's
Yeah.
Shazam.
yeah. Well, this band that I heard recently, Melinas from Spain. I don't know if have you heard them?
No, I'll write
They're
that down.
awesome. I Shazammed a song of theirs that was in this an episode of that new TV show, The Righteous Gemstones, which is funny because the show's so comedic, but like it was a great song, and I was right away like, what is this? Yesterday, I spent all day listening to their entire discography, and to me, they're bringing back this like modern stereo lab energy that I love to hear. Like every track that I listened to those yesterday, I spent 3 hours listening to them.
101.
What were you working as Brady? When you were like throughout your 20s and Melissa was working at a record store, what were you doing? What did you have any kind of? Oh well, I suppose you said you work in bars or restaurants, right?
Right, yeah. I was like waiting tables. I was bussing tables. I was either in the kitchen. That's kind of what I did for all my 20s, I think. And then when I moved to LA, I told myself that I wouldn't get back into the food industry. And so I started like tutoring how to use Ableton and recording and doing like self-production for a while, but then it got kind of weird because I was just doing it through Craigslist and stuff, and the people that were hitting me up were like, a little sometimes were yeah. And so
Do you have any memories of those particular? You could say, we can say weirdos here, can't we? Weirdo
for
some people are
sure, for
weirdos.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was one where I got invited to, I think it was like someplace in Koreatown, and then I walk into the apartment and there's like two stools and like no furniture anywhere. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? And this guy was just like, we like sat on his floor. I think he was trying to hook up, but that was not my vibe. I was like being for real. I'm like, I'm here to help you make music, not hook up with you.
I think they got the wrong Urban Dictionary word.
I don't know. I don't remember this story. What ended up happening? Did you teach him anything?
Yeah, we wrote a song about his sugar daddy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you did lyrics as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite cool. I mean, the thing I like about that is writing lyrics with a stranger is maybe a bit difficult and challenging, perhaps, but like gets you out your comfort zone. I feel like that's the definition of going outside your comfort zone.
I was wickedly outside my comfort zone, but I was just trying to help out, and I think that guy had different intentions, but I kept mine true.
But you kept it. You could still pay rent. You could still make music. It kind of it worked. Doing all
it worked.
The side gig stuff.
It worked, and then I ended up finding another job in catering after that. So, but it was cool. The catering job, I got I was catering for I catered for Cher. I catered for.
Wow, where's this? Where was that?
This is in LA.
Damn, fancy kind of restaurant or what?
It was kind of like. Another kind of like DIY operation where this
on
guy,
location type stuff.
yeah. So we'd be on location. This guy who started this company with his wife, basically started from nothing and just hired musicians mostly. And so it was just like a bunch of musicians waking up at 4 a.m. to go start catering at like 5 or 6 on like photo shoots and videos, music videos. So I did like Cardi B, I did Christina Aguilera. I served Courtney Love, but I didn't talk. I want to say what's up, but
Yeah.
I was like, not the
I
time.
think with those times you have to listen to what's your intuition in that split second of a moment? Is it like, yes, I do say hi, or do I not say hi?
Just handing somebody a piece of chicken and being like, you're a legend.
Was that funny? I've worked in scenarios where like we've worked with like the talent, and it's like that's not what music is like. There's a lot of crossover there between people who work as a producer or serving like you did, and then like the Cardi B's or the Courtney Loves. It's like there is some crossover there. I think what I'm trying to say is that like when you're introduced to that world, as in it's black and white. Either you're there to be served or you're there to serve.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when Cardi B, I think took about 30 minutes to get out of the vehicle before the vehicle shows up, and then 30 minutes she finally gets out, but she gets out in a bathrobe and then a towel over her face and everything, so anybody there can't take photos of her before she's gotten into her makeup or anything like that. Because they don't want it posted on the social media. I mean, it's crazy. Like the jobs in the industry, it's a lot.
It's interesting when you've seen that, and now you're the artist playing the festival, and you're the artist getting led backstage.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Do you guys put towels over your head and make sure no one takes photos?
No.
No way. We don't have any paparazzi or anyone giving a shit about that.
Nobody cares what I look like.
Cardi B's a massive superstar.
But you know what I mean? It's like, when you go to these, there are people's job to take you back to the backstage at the festival that you're playing in Europe or wherever it is.
For sure. And sometimes people stop us because they want to take selfies or they just want to tell us how much they love us or whatever. And it's always weird to me now that people even say our first names while we're on stage, yelling Melissa or Brady. I'm like, wow. And I usually can't spot whoever just said it, but I'm grateful that people give a shit at all.
I guess what we're talking about there is it's a potential like power dynamic, right? Where it's like you're in the power and like the responsibility and that stuff. And
100%. So I feel like I'm nicer to people who are serving because I understand the position that they're in. I was like, I've been there, so I try to be very kind and very respectful to whoever is doing the catering at a gig or anything like that. And I mean, because we both Melissa and I know what it's like to work in the service industry. So, we tip,
Yeah, I mean, I tip super well even when people are giving me an attitude. I'm just like, I have
yeah.
to. Like, I understand this job sucks. I don't know why you're in a bad mood because I'm trying to bring joy, but I'm sure it has nothing to do with me, so I'm still gonna
Yeah,
tip.
they
Yeah.
could have gotten broken up with in the morning, car accident, whatever,
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Service jobs are kind of the
Mhm.
worst. They're really
Yeah.
you're dealing with people. It's like you're not allowed to have a personality. It seems
Mhm.
you're like people expect a lot
Yeah.
sometimes. Entitled people who haven't worked service jobs, they expect a lot, and I think they can be sort of borderline abusive, Karen type energy, and so
Yeah. I think it's important that everyone works a service job at some point
Yeah.
I
because
agree.
then they understand this is what the general public can be like, and this is why it's important to be nice to
Yeah,
each other.
exactly. It
Yeah.
makes the transaction in the business so much easier.
Jobs. As a final point, speaking of those bad days, I am a big fan of the Schadenfreude of like people having bad days at work and then, letting that dust settle for a bit and then being able to talk about it. Sometimes you need a few months, other times you need a few years to get over a mishap in the workplace. And, I feel slightly bad about asking you to rake over some bad memories, but also it's kind of funny. What is the worst day that you've had at work? Throw any glasses at anybody? Had to kick anyone out the bar?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I used to work at an infamous bar on the Bowery in New York that doesn't exist anymore. And if you look it up, it was called Mars Bar. I mean, but it was a crazy place. But a lot of my friends, we were even afraid to go in there. We were just like a infamous dive bar with full of like old drunks. But there was this one frat boy that came in and didn't really fit the mold of the rest of the people in there. And he basically started a fight with all of us and calling us all kinds of gay slurs and whatever. And we told him you got to get out, and he decked me in the face, which is
What the
really
fuck?
crazy. But then you can imagine all these old Vietnam vets and all these other people, they ganged up on him and dragged his ass into the street. But then there's these dudes like in their 60s and 70s trying to hit him with like bar stools and shit like that, and it was just super chaotic scene and situation. But the Mars bar was generally just like one of the craziest places I've ever worked at.
That's mad. Because I mean, like bar fights do happen. I don't think I've heard of them, but I've never seen one, and I've lived in London most of my life.
Yeah, this place was particularly crazy. There was blood and all kinds of stuff going on everywhere. He didn't call the cops, but he came back later when we had put down the gates, and we were just in there like doing coke, smoking cigarettes, and like raging for the rest of the night because the bar closed at like 4, but we would hang out till like 7 in the morning sometimes. We were so crazy. And he came back and was like kicking the gate and trying to come back for us, but we were just inside laughing and we just waited it out, and he eventually left.
How about you, Brady?
Yeah.
Any chaotic scenes come to mind?
100%. I'm recalling a time when I was in college. It was one of my first kitchen jobs, and I just gotten the job, but for some reason, then I had the first day, the next day, the night before, I decided to take a bunch of acid with my friends, and I had
Classic era.
yeah, I know, right? I had no idea that it was gonna last all night, and then I'd be up all night. Like, my friend, we were just making breakfast. Somehow she just broke her window, and we're like trying to figure out how to fix it. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to go to work. And I show up at work, and it's like Monday, and my friend is the dude who I just like an acquaintance. I just met this guy, and he brings me down, and they just got a shipment in, and he's like, I need you to put this all away. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm looking around, and it's just like cages and boxes and refrigerators, and my brain is like, I can't do this right now. I cannot do this. It's just like one of those nightmare situations. I'm down there for like an hour. He comes back, nothing is done.
He's been looking at it, sweating.
Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm so sorry. And so, yeah, it was kind of a mess of a day. Yeah, somehow like all the days, yeah, I then, a few months later, I had a job waiting tables at a Japanese restaurant. For some reason, I showed up on acid while I had to work the shift, and then I had to go home because I was like, this is too much.
Why acid?
It was flying around then. It was just like everywhere. There was like 2CI. There was like all this stuff that you could.
Sounds scary.
Yeah, it was just a lot of stuff, and I was just at art school, just being a mess.
You got through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you're a kid, for some reason, when we were younger, there was a lot of acid around in general. And I think when you don't understand drugs when you're a kid, you just take them whenever it's offered to you without regard to what this means.
Because the vibe is like, if other people are doing it, then it's like, okay. You know, it's like everything your parents told you not to do.
Yeah.
I was gonna do it.
Yeah, exactly. So there was Brady and Melissa from Sextile. Their new album, Yes Please, is out tomorrow. Catch them live. Brilliant band. Interesting, fun, puts you in a good place. Thanks for being here. If you're able to subscribe or leave a review wherever you're listening to this, that would be massively appreciated. We put out 2 episodes every week. And next Tuesday, we have Patrick Wolf. And then on Thursday, we have Cornelia Murr, who's put out this good record called Run to the Center. See you back then, hopefully. Cheers.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.